Hey everyone, welcome to Once Upon a Realm, the book club for historical fiction book lovers. Now, today, this is our first live book chat, and the topic technically will be The White Queen, which is the first arc that I've been doing. If you haven't been seeing the videos, they're all there. Go ahead and watch. But today, mostly what I want to do is try and introduce myself and give everybody an idea of just what we are going to be doing on this channel. I just want to check and make sure everyone can hear me. But what I want to do today, I want to say why I want to do this channel and why it means so much to me, and just say hi and how, things like the live book chats are going to go going forward. So, the reason that I am such a fan of historical fiction is because I am a historian, used to be a history teacher, and for me, historical fiction was how I came to love history. It's how I learned that I loved it. And I know that most historians kind of look down on historical fiction. For example, if you go on just about any history YouTuber, you will see them kind of mocking Philippa Gregory. You will see them talking down about historical movies, period pieces. They'll always say, oh, well, they got this wrong, they got that wrong, they got this wrong. Well, yeah, they probably did because they're making a movie or they're writing a novel. And so it can't be just dry history. But agreed that sometimes the idea is that, well, it must have happened that way because that's the way it is in the movie or that's the way it is in the book. And I think that if that is the impression, then that's kind of at the fault of historians, not the authors. They put right on the cover historical fiction. It's based on real events. It's not intended to be true history. So, as a historian, I figured it was my job to correct that because historical fiction can be. Hold on, I have my dog here. As soon as I go live, he wants his treats. But I think that historical fiction can be used as a jumping off point. How do you know if you're interested in a time period and if you want to learn about it unless you read about it? And if people aren't willing to read dry history, at least maybe they might be willing to read a Philippa Gregory or a Alison Weir novel, and then that will spark their interest in learning more about the time period. So that's why historical fiction, I think, is very important. It gives people a way, a jumping off point to further study and further learn about history in a time period. And of course, I think it's a lot of fun. It's fun. It's fun to read. It's fun to imagine what could have been or what might have been. And especially when you're talking about authors such as Philippa Gregory or Alison Weir, where they deal with women. A lot of their main characters are women who generally you wouldn't know much about them because they didn't leave much of a record. And so the only way to know anything about them is to create personalities and to create characters for them. Do I sometimes disagree with the characterization or the way that they portray someone? Yeah, sure, sometimes. But I feel that about a lot of books and movies that has nothing to do with history. So that's why I like historical fiction, and that's why I think historical fiction is a great thing. But I also do like history and I do like the true stories. And so that's why I set up this channel so that you have an appreciation of both. So that while you're reading a book or while I'm discussing a book, you also have the historical background that it comes from. What are the true stories? Who are the minor characters that may go in and out of a period piece that might actually have been much more important as historical figures. And so it's the best of both worlds to me. You can have the history informative, true story while still reading the fun story. And hopefully this will catch on and it'll be there forever. It doesn't have to be something that is, you are reading currently The White Queen in order to enjoy the book arcs. You can, watch the historical pieces and then watch where I kind of put it all together in the book video, or you can just watch them all independently and separate of each other. You don't even need to watch the book ones, but I personally think those are the fun ones. And the purpose of the live chats are to get together and talk about things because there are always parts, especially like, for example, Philippa Gregory, where she has the books, and then you also have the Stars TV series. Same thing with Outlander and Diana Gabaldon. She has the books, but then she also has the TV series. And sometimes they can be different from each other. And some might have better history than the others, and vice versa. So, that's what I'm doing here. That's why I'm here, and that's why I hope that people will enjoy this, and I hope that people will learn from it. And so it's a little bit of everything. Plus, these videos will all go onto YouTube as a course. So if you decide you want to learn about, say, I don't know, Elizabeth of York, you can go through and it's a separate course where it will take you through, and hopefully at the end of the videos for that particular book, you'll have a pretty good idea of who Elizabeth of York was. I try and do 2 videos that have something to do with the time period or other people who might not have been main characters, but are, secondary characters in history and possibly in the books or the movies. And then a video that has something to do with geography, or I believe the one of them that I have is the royal treasures. Things that are also connected and interesting. Can be different for every book. Some books, the geography might be interesting. Other books, it might be something like The Field of Cloth of Gold, which was an event that happened during Henry VIII's reign. So, those are the things that I have in mind for this channel. Those are the things that I want to do with it. But I also, mostly, want to make sure that everybody has fun with it, that people who are watching it, so that I want people to come up and join and have a discussion, a book chat, a live book chat where we talk about the book or we talk about the movies, or even, in some cases, talking about the history. Because sometimes the history might be particularly interesting. For example, the Field of Cloth of Gold. It's, first of all, the name. Is the name not ridiculous? Of course it's ridiculous. But it's the name that it was given, and so it's the name that everybody recognizes it with, and it's what everybody knows exactly what you're talking about when you hear it. So, if we want to, we can go straight into a discussion about the White Queen, or if you prefer, we can talk about what we want to do with the channel. So if someone wants to put a comment in the chat and let me know which you prefer, because I can go either way. I can do a chat about the White Queen, or we can talk about what we want to do with the channel and how we want the live streams to go. Preferences. What do you prefer? I don't know if I can do from Restream. I should be able to do a poll, but I don't know if I can in Restream. Let's see. I don't know how to do a poll in Restream, but I'll figure that out eventually. I think I have to go back into whatchamacallit. I have to go back into YouTube in order to do a poll. So let's see if I can. Engage with the audience. Start a poll. Here we go. A yes or no poll. Do we want to talk about the channel or about the White Queen? So yes or no. If you want to talk about the White Queen, I can do that. That would be a yes. If you want to talk about the channel, then you would just say a no. And we can see what the general consensus is. Right now, I feel like I'm just talking to myself, but that's okay. This is still early. Channel's still new. My channel's still, I had to remove a lot of my old videos from the Megxit channel because YouTube is still sharing my videos and my live streams and my posts all to Megxit people. So hopefully that'll switch over soon and we'll have a bigger community, because that is what will make this fun, is that if it is actually a community. So if no one's here and no one's voting, then let's see. We want to talk about the White Queen. We can do that. So the White Queen is the story of Elizabeth Woodville, who was a commoner, not really a commoner, she was a lower noble, who was married to a king. And that is one of the first times that you see a king choosing a bride from within his country, as opposed to the king making an alliance with a French princess or a German princess or, whatever the case may be. They are choosing someone from within their own country. Hello. You just voted. Well, good. Thank you, Munchie. It's good to see you here. I'm glad you made it. But did you want to talk about the White Queen? We can do that. Who was your favorite character? Who was your favorite character in the White Queen? Or here's another question. Did you like Elizabeth? That's the thing. Not everybody likes her. She can be the Philippa Gregory version of her. She can be abrasive. She can be a little bit too forceful. Not quite the shrinking violet that I think a lot of people prefer to imagine her as. Let me see. I made a short that I really liked. Let me see if I can find that real quick. And we can play that in the background. How do I turn the volume off on it? Can you hear that? I don't hear any volume. You liked Elizabeth? Well, that's good. I want to make sure. Can you hear the music or no? I'm okay just playing it in the background just because it's kind of neat. I like the way that that I was able to change her into a modern day person. But hopefully you can hear me and not her. Hopefully there's no sound on that. But yeah, she can be abrasive to some because she wasn't just a shrinking flower who just stayed in the background. In Philippa Gregory's novel, she is very much so the force behind. You can't hear you. No, can you it's okay. I think I turned off the volume on the video, which I kind of wanted to do. But she can be very forceful. She can be very manipulative to some. I liked her. I liked her in The White Queen because she was able, I think that she kind of got so much hassle from Warwick and from George Duke of Clarence that it was just she had to be forceful. She couldn't not be because she wasn't given the chance to not be. Which, some people say that she could have reacted differently. I liked her. But that's just me. But I can see where her children might have had different feelings. Because if the Elizabeth Woodville of Philippa Gregory's novel is accurate, if there was anything to it, I don't know that she always put her children's best interests before her own. That would be my one complaint about her. But, um, what about other characters? Any other characters that are fun to talk about? Now, one thing that I really liked about the Stars TV series is that it wasn't just yeah, you had to or you would go nowhere. Yes, exactly. If she had let them, they would've walked all over her. But one thing that I liked about the Stars show is that it wasn't just Elizabeth's story. It did a very good job, I thought, of blending the story of Elizabeth, Margaret Beaufort, and Anne Neville. But of course, I don't wanna go too much into that because that's the discussion for another day. But I do think that it gave a lot more depth to the Stars. Hello, Maria. Welcome. I'm glad you're here. How about you, Maria? Who was your favorite character? But I would say that Elizabeth I know some historians are like, "Oh, what is she doing putting in the witchcraft?" Well, of course there was no witchcraft. Of course, she was probably afraid to have any sort of even hint of witchcraft. But it's fun. It makes the story come to life. And if the story doesn't come to life, then no one's gonna read it. And so, how many people would never know anything about Elizabeth Woodville if not for the Philippa Gregory novels and if not for the Stars TV series. They would never even know who Elizabeth was. This gives her at least something. And I think that that's good. It gives us at least a framework for when she lived, what it was like, what the general things that she had to overcome were, what it was like to live through a war where I mean, every other month, her husband was trying to be overthrown. Can you imagine the instability and the fear involved in that? And this isn't like, "Hey, your husband might lose his job." Your husband might lose his job these days, say. But in that case, if your husband lost his job, he was gonna get killed, and you could get killed, and so could all your children. I mean, so it was wonderful, uneasy is the head that wears the crown. It was wonderful to be queen, but being queen could be dangerous. And usually, they would have nothing to say about any of the policies or things that got them to be queen or to got that got them in trouble. So it was not an easy lifestyle, even though they may have had other things. That's okay. You're welcome. That's fine. I'm glad. Welcome to the story. And feel free at any time. You can ask Munchie. I'm very good about replying to my comments. If you have any questions while you're watching the videos, always be sure just to ask them and I'll be happy to answer. I don't know if you heard the beginning part, but I was a history teacher and I love historical fiction, even though most historians are kind of anti-historical fiction. I'm one of the ones that loves it and appreciates it for what it can do. Well, good. I'm glad, Munchie. Can you hear me? Boo, 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 boo. Test, test, test. But I would also say that in addition to giving a good idea of kind of the insecurity and the instability of Elizabeth's life, I think she also did a very good job. I mean, for all intents and purposes, I think Edward died when he was about 40, something like that. He was very young when he died. But he died young, and yeah, he had quite a long life relative to everybody else. So, they fit a lot into those 40 years, and that was all they had. And Elizabeth, she lived to see her daughter become queen. That's it. What do you call me? You can call me Amy, or you can still call me ORMV, really. I'd still answer to that. You can call me Amy, you can call me ORMV. I guess OUAR is it doesn't have the same ring as ORMV, right? OUAR. Once upon a realm. I guess Amy is probably the easiest. But like I said, I'll still answer to ORMV. If you didn't know, Maria, I used to have a channel that was a Megxit channel, and that's where Munchie found me. So, what else? Let me see. What else can we talk about today? We can talk about what about other time periods that you would want? Like right now, I'm doing this. Yeah, OUAR. It doesn't have the same ring as ORMV. ORMV had like a nice little, cadence to it. It was catchy. OUAR just isn't quite the same. But right now we're doing these Cousins War series. And then the next one will be the Six Tudor Wives series, which is Alison Weir. And then that will bring us right up to the time that is the centennial celebration, the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. And I thought in honor of that, it was a good time to do the John Adams TV show from HBO. And so I will go through and kind of do what I would do for a book, but with the TV show, and kind of bring out the interesting time, the interesting events and the interesting people, so that we can then enjoy and appreciate more the stories of John Adams and honestly Thomas Jefferson. It's really they're kind of a package deal in a way. But that'll be around the time of the 4th of July. And then after that, I'm open to whatever books people would want to do next. I'm trying to do something with Outlander. I think that, see, the problem with Outlander is, well, there's two problems. Problem number one is they are so long. And because they are so long, that makes it a tough thing to do. But the other thing is it's hard to do fact versus fiction with the Outlander series because she does such a darn good job with the facts. She's so historically accurate. Her research is impeccable, and she does try to stay as historically accurate as she can. And so it's hard to do a fact versus fiction about Outlander, but I do want to try and bring that in somehow. And what else? There's also a book that's coming out in May, and that is another Alison Weir book. And that book is called The Boleyn Secret. And what's interesting about that is the story of Mary Boleyn's daughter, which I have to say, I don't think I've read anyone who's done a book about her. And she was a fascinating character. She was publicly the cousin of Elizabeth I, and very much so a member of her court and whatnot. But she was also rumored to have been her half-sister, because it is believed that Henry VIII was her father. And so Outlander was fiction? Well, it is fiction. It is historical fiction, though. Outlander is fiction because it is obviously, the whole time travel thing. But it is historical fiction when it comes to when she goes back in the past, even the quote unquote present day, which present day in Outlander world is the 1960s. Even then, she's historically accurate. She's very good with her history. And so it's hard to do a fact versus fiction for Outlander. But I am looking forward to in May. I will do something for that book, The Boleyn Secret, because I am looking forward to reading it. And what else? I got Guinness here. Guinness is saying hello to everybody. I have to put him on camera one day. Right, Boo? He's looking at me like, what are you doing here? But any suggestions? So, like I said, I have the Philippa Gregory series first, then we'll do the Alison Weir series, then the HBO series, and then after that, I'm open. So anytime you see a book series or you see a book, even historical fiction that you want me to look at, just go ahead and put it in the comments of any of the videos, and I will see it. I do pretty good with answering my comments. Yeah, he's here. He's here. He just had a peanut butter treat. We have these we have doggy peanut butter. And so Guinness just had his doggy peanut butter ice pop. Hey, is anybody near? Where's everybody live? Is anybody near? Is anybody else getting snow? I mean, the theory is that I could be snowed in from tomorrow onward for, who knows how long, because I am in New Jersey and we are supposed to be getting the snow. I thought about it when you said Guinness, because to be quite honest, the snow is supposed to be higher than Guinness is. So he's not going to like going out. He doesn't really like the snow, which is funny because he likes the leaves. He doesn't like the snow. He is happy. So anybody else? Is anybody else expecting the snowstorm? This is supposed to be like the snowstorm to end all snowstorms. I can't remember the last time we had a really big one. I think my kids were probably about 7 or 8 the last time we had a real one. I'm going to get it worse. Yeah. I'm supposed to get at least a foot. Although what's interesting is they originally said I was supposed to get it on Sunday night, and now they're saying I'm getting it tomorrow night. So who knows? We will see. Either way, making sure we have, milk and things so that we have things to eat, and hoping that we don't lose power. I don't think we will. We usually don't. You get the edge of it? Yeah. Well, and also you're used to it more. You're used to, Guinness, I gave you a bone. What did you do? Did you take it and hide it and now you want another one? It's not going to happen, Boo. You're used to snow a lot more than us. I mean, we get, 3 inches of snow and this whole state freaks out. But let's see, what else can we talk about? It's hard. I need people, but I do definitely want, as we get into things, as we get more of a community here, I do want other people to come up and talk about the books and talk about their favorite things and talk about, topics in the book. Guinness. Stop. There's nothing there. I don't even know what you're looking at. He thinks he sees something. Yeah. Everybody stay safe. If you're, like I said, we don't plan to leave. Like, we're pretty much set for the weekend so that we don't have to go out in any of it. Stay home if you don't have to go out. No reason to be out and about in the snow, especially on the weekend. So that's good. And of course, I work from home, so I don't ever have to leave the house, even in the snow. But what else can we talk about? So I talked about I'm looking at my little schedule that I had here. We looked at what I wanted from the channel, why I wanted to do the channel. We talked about how you can tell me about more books. What else? Is there anything else we want to talk about other than the snow? Because that's fun too. We can talk more about Elizabeth. If you haven't seen the Starz show, I would absolutely recommend it. I binge watch it at least twice a year. Seriously, I'll watch all 10 of them. Take a couple days, and every time I have a break. Yeah, it is. It's going to be dangerous. There's nothing good about the snowstorm from what I'm seeing. Come here, Booga. But I would recommend the Starz TV show. They're great. And not just the White Queen. There's the White Queen, but that's, of course, the story of Elizabeth, Margaret, and Anne. But then there is also The White Princess and The Spanish Princess. Yeah, I will. I definitely will. I'm happy to do that. I'm gonna try I have to try and think of more American history books. More books that are I mean, because most of the ones that I think are the best are, are British history. So, I have to think of more although someone I saw someone the other day, they were talking about reading Lonesome Dove for the first time. That's a great book. Lonesome Dove was probably one of the first historical fiction books that I ever read, and that's a classic. What else? What else can I think of off the top of my head? The problem one thing that I am struggling with is, for example, so I did Philippa Gregory when I did The Cousins War, right? And then, I'm gonna do I wanted to do some variety, so I wanted to put it because I don't want it to just all always be Philippa Gregory, so I wanted to do the Alison Weir series for the 6 Tudor Queens. But the problem then is, my favorite all-time book for historical fiction is probably The Other Boleyn Girl, and so I'm gonna have to do something with that just because it's such a great book. It was probably the first book that I read that heard of it. It's Anne Boleyn's story, or are you talking about Lonesome Dove? Lonesome Dove is like 1880s out west. The Other Boleyn Girl is obviously the story of Mary Boleyn, and that was what made it so unique when it first came out, is because everybody hears about Anne Boleyn, and up until then, I really think was, whitewashed. I think everybody considered her the innocent victim of the monster that is Henry, and I kind of yeah, Lonesome Dove, yeah, it's like 1880s Wyoming kinda thing, Texas, Wyoming. They do a cattle drive, but, it's kind of like, City Slickers, but the real thing. But The Other Berlin Girl, what I liked about it is I was never a fan of Anne Boleyn. I always thought that there was more to her, that she wasn't the innocent, you know, there was more. I always just kind of felt that there was more, that she wasn't the good guy necessarily, that she has been sometimes labeled as. And so that's why I like The Other Berlin Girl, because it didn't show Anne as the good guy necessarily. It was funny. I was watching something the other day. What was I watching? I don't remember. Oh, I know what it was. It was something on like the History Channel or something like that. And there was another Boleyn girl, right? Exactly, Mary Boleyn. But I was watching something and they were talking about how Anne, um, how is it possible that Anne could have been kind of pushed into being with Henry by her father, and it was a historian, it was one of the History Channels that I watched that she was saying this, and she was saying, "It's very unlikely that Thomas Boleyn would have pushed his daughters into doing that because there's no good that could come out of it, it ruined their reputations, and this, that, and the other thing." And then, that same historian did a video about Catherine Howard, Anne Boleyn's cousin, who also married Henry VIII, and she said, "Yeah, but, it's clear that her parent or that her uncle pushed her into it." Well, how is it clear that her uncle pushed her into it, but you can't imagine Thomas Boleyn pushing Mary or Anne Boleyn into it? It was kind of a contradiction there. But I think that particular historian, who I love, she's great. I don't even want to say her name because I don't want to make it, give her any kind of bad press because I do enjoy her. But I thought it was very inconsistent that she could say she has kind of a bit of a bias towards Anne. And so, Anne can do no wrong. But whereas Catherine Howard, she should have known better. She shouldn't have let herself get killed. Well, kind of Anne should have known better too. Anne had a lot more going for her than than Catherine did, had a lot more reason to be aware of the politics that were around her, and that could have hurt her, and did result in, the head getting cut off and all that. So, anything else we want to talk about today? As the first kind of book, like I said, it's not really one that I'm able to get into the book a whole lot because I really wanted to say more about what the channel was going to be and how we can make the channel grow. Yes, but not just pushed into the marriages, but pushed into the affairs. That was what it was, is that saying that the affairs that, like, because could Mary Boleyn have been pushed into the affair with Henry, or did she do it willingly? Well, why the heck would she do it willingly? Like, let's think about that. Like, what did she get out of that? Absolutely nothing. And then the fact that she ended up marrying for love, like, clearly she turned her back on any of the court. And if she was going after Henry for any sort of nefarious reasons, then she never would have turned her back on the court, in my opinion. That's just what I think. That if you look at her, her life, she turned her back on the court before Anne got in trouble. Anne was still queen, and Mary said, "I want nothing to do with it." And she went off and married a commoner for love and kind of turned her back on it. And someone who would do that probably wouldn't have been having an affair with the king just for the fun of it. She had to have been pushed into that, in my opinion. And let me see, I have a few kind of controversial historical theories. Like how they say Richard III killed the princes in the tower. I don't think so. I struggle with that. I mean, obviously, I have a whole video coming about that, but I don't think he could. How does a man spend his whole life idolizing his older brother, and then his older brother dies suddenly, and within 2 months he kills his nephews? Something's not adding up there. So I have that theory too. So I think Anne's a narcissist. I think Richard III did not kill his nephews. Kind of controversial, I guess. Like he couldn't change his entire lifelong willingness to be his brother's biggest supporter and then turn around and kill his brother's sons. It doesn't add up for me. And if he did kill them, the purpose for killing them would have been to prove that he was the only legitimate and available heir to the throne. So if they were dead, he would have wanted that known. He wouldn't hide it. He would be shouting it from the rooftops. So I think either they died of something, like caught a plague or something and died. And, he was kind of like, "Oh, damn, now what do I do?" Or someone else did it. But that's just my theory. I have some wild and wacky historical theories. Just to make it more fun, right? It's no fun if I just agree with what every other historian says. And every other historian says that Richard killed them. I'm not buying it. So, that's just my opinion. But we have been about 45 minutes today, and that was kind of more than I expected to be on our first one. Because like I said, this is more a nice to meet you, nice to see you. Someone else did. I think someone else did it. Like Buckingham. The Duke of Buckingham had a lot more reason. And I don't think that Margaret managed it. Margaret Beaufort. She would have liked to, but I don't think she could have. It just wouldn't have occurred to her. But Buckingham could have. But Buckingham, he had no, like, he was so far down the line. I don't know what he thought he was going to get out of that. Do you think he was going to take over? No, that wasn't going to happen. Stanley could have done it, though. The Stanley brothers, they were shady characters, too. And they had the motive. They had the motive and they had the means. So it could have been them. Hello, Christian. Nice to see you. Welcome. welcome, welcome. We're just wrapping up. I was just sharing some of my more ridiculously outlandish historical theories. My more outlandish historical theories, sharing what I want to do with the channel, and hoping that everybody comes back, and hoping that everybody enjoys the videos. Like I said, each book that I kind of focus on, and you don't necessarily have to. I don't think you even need to read the book if you don't want to. I mean, I do a pretty good job covering all the Banger things, but each book I try and do a couple historical videos about people or events, and something about like the geography. For example, for the next book, which is The Red Queen, which is Margaret Beaufort, which is Henry VIII's grandmother. For the Red Queen, I do a video about Wales in Tudor times, and how the Welsh were the real reason that Henry VII was able to win the throne from Richard III at the Battle of Bosworth. And so 2 videos of history, a video of geography, and then a video about the book, and then a live stream where we can talk about all of it. And I did do a bunch of these too. These, let me see. Let me do another one. I have another one of these. Boo. Let's see. This is another one. This is the one I have for Margaret. I think this one came out well too. I like the fact that, kind of giving them more of a modern touch, so that, you can kind of imagine more who they were, instead of them being two-dimensional characters. Give them a little more life. But I like that one. I thought that one came out well. But that's about it. So that's it for today. Like I said, I was only planning on doing about a half an hour, and we've been here about 45 minutes. So thank you everyone for coming. I'm glad that you came. I have to figure out, I know that as a creator, I'm supposed to be able to give away memberships. Can't I? I figure out a way to do that for the next live. Yeah, I mean, I put it together. It's AI, obviously. I can't do any kind of artwork. But what I did was, you have to kind of, here's the thing about AI. You have to really, oh good, I'm glad, Maria. Welcome. Thank you for being here. You have to know how to tell AI what you want. And so that's almost like a skill in and of itself. Trying to tell AI what you need it to do. I think that's what we're going to need to learn in the next few years, definitely, because the way things are going, it seems like they're going to be taken over. And when you tell AI what you want, like this, for example, just to do the castle coming out of the book. So I did it, and I got it, right, and then getting them to redo it again, so that I could do uh, uh, the 9 by 16 instead of the 16 by 9, to get AI to do it again. It's nearly impossible. It won't. Let me see if I can find real quick before I let you go. Real quick, if I can show you the closest thing that it could get. Where is it? Because they're kind of funny. Where is it? Oh, well, I'll have to find them. I'll find them. I'll show them to you next time, because it's funny, because they are similar and yet so not similar. Because like the next time, like the castle, instead of coming out of the book, it was like flying over the book. So getting AI to do the same thing again, it's nearly impossible. But all right, let me wrap up. Thank you everybody for coming. Please like it if you haven't already. Please give the live a like. so that we can get the word out, so that we can get more people to hear about it and more people to come join us. And thank you very much for coming. And I will work on a couple things. I'll work on figuring out how to do the gifting the memberships during a live, because I know I can. So I can give out like up to 10 memberships a month. So I'm going to have to start doing that. I just don't know how. Because it doesn't give me the option, and I don't know why it doesn't. It should. But thank you everybody for coming. I hope everybody stays very safe. Yeah, Jersey's going to get slammed. I hope everybody stays. Oh, you can call me Jersey. That's a good idea. You can call me Jersey. That works. I'd answer to that. Like I said, I'd still answer to ORMB. But everybody, please stay safe with the storm if it's going to hit you. And give the videos a like and give it a share if you can. And thanks for coming. And I hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon or evening, depending on where you are. Thank you. Bye, everybody.